Well, first of all, I thought in some ways it was his most courageous speech because he told us the truth at the very beginning. His heart was for leaving, but his head, after listening to all his advisors, said you have to stay. And as president, ultimately, I think you have to allow your head to tell you what reality is, and you have to rely on people like General Mattis or General Kelly or General McMaster, and that's what he did. And I think he put together his national security team along with Secretary Tillerson, and they said to him unanimously, pulling out would be a disaster. And so he had to go through a long process of saying, fine, show me a way of staying in that makes sense. And I think this is a step in the right direction. If we emphasize pressure on Pakistan, if we liberate our forces to use all of their combat capability and not have them restricted by lawyers back in Washington, if we are prepared to really focus on training the Afghan military and the Afghan police, I think over the long run we will eventually succeed. But it's a long, difficult process. Doesn't necessarily happen based on TV schedules or election schedules. And I liked very much the president saying he wasn't going to have some false schedule. He wasn't going to have some false limits. He was going to let the military do their job and reinforce them based on circumstances.
No, that one thing you said, we're going to pick up with Jack Keane next hour, the general, about being more aggressive in this fight. And I thought that was clear in the tone from last evening and the words he chose. And we'll see what happens with this relationship in Pakistan. I mean, wow, 16 years later, it's not easy. If it were, we would have solved it years ago.
Well,
go ahead.
Remember, Bill, just for a second, remember, if you liberate American forces from truly stupid rules of engagement, you allow them to apply sound military behavior, you're going to get 3 or 4 or 5 times the effectiveness out of the same number of troops because they have been so crippled by the Obama rules of engagement that it has been pathetic, including finding somebody they knew was a Taliban person they weren't allowed to shoot at because the rules of engagement and the 12 lawyers involved all said, gee, that's wrong. I mean, this is a huge break with the last 8 years and will dramatically empower our military to be far more effective.
Let me get to 2 more topics. He's going to visit the border, part of it later tonight. Then he's got this rally in Phoenix. Clearly, there will be protesters. How many we'll see? They will garner a level of media coverage, as you know, as well. What does he gain from doing this rally tonight?
Well, I think he keeps faith with his base, reminds them that he is still committed to controlling the border. It gives him a chance, by the way, to tell them that I think illegal crossings are down 76%, also a tribute to General John Kelly when he was Homeland Security. It also gives him a chance, I think, to remind the core Trump supporters across the country of the core values that led them to be for him in the first place. It'll be fascinating to watch because he's clearly in transition. He has a very presidential speech to a veterans organization tomorrow. And so he's right now in the balance. Does he go back to a much more divisive, angry rhetoric tonight, or does he stick with this presidential style, which last night gave him enormous positives? When you saw people like Lindsey Graham, who've been very severe critics at times, Lindsey spent almost 15 minutes on Fox last night praising the president, supporting the president, saying exactly the right kind of things. My hope would be that he will sidestep Senators McCain and Flake. He's going to need both of them this fall in terms of the agenda. This is not a place to pick a fight, and I hope that he will be more presidential and less confrontational tonight. But look, he is the president. He gets to do what he wants to, and we'll see you tonight at 10 o'clock.
What's the